What's good? Matt Clark here at the new Matt Clark. How are each and every one of you doing on this amazing Saturday? I'm doing great. My girl's doing great. My family's doing great. I hope each and every one of you are doing great despite the times that we're living in right now. It's just a little bit of uncertainty all the time. You know what we're going through, right? If you could please hit that like button. If you could please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification button so you get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that'd be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of most of my videos. Not lately, but just go back like 6 months if you want to donate. I've kind of shut off myself from all kinds of social media at the moment, so I'm not really doing any of that except for my YouTube. So you'll be able to find the link if you want to. So today, on this amazing Saturday, how are y'all doing? I'm doing great. It's getting cold outside, but it's still kind of nice. And I don't know, I like the rest that I get on the weekend. I like being able to just relax and do nothing. And tonight, I'm going to tell you guys a story that I thought I'd already told you guys. I really did. Maybe I have told you. I don't know if it was in a live or what. But just how my actions kind of backfired. But then I kind of had a bunch of luck at the same time. So I'd moved to this range in Lindsay. And I was a young guy. This is like 2003. It was 4A. And at the time, I was caught up. You know, I was really involved in all the politics. I like being involved. I like fighting. I like being involved in causing disturbances and messing with the feds. I just like doing all that crazy stuff. I like being involved. That's why I spent a whole lot of time in SEG at that point in my life. And when I wasn't in SEG, I was getting caught up in politics provincially. And this is one of those stories. So basically, I was on a block, and there's this big dude. He was like 6'4", probably 240, 250. Certified smoker in the street, but in prison, just a big jacked guy, like a big savage, right? And he was on this range. It wasn't a horrible dude, but he really kind of had the range on smash, and he was treating everybody like crap. And I remember day after day after day, it was just baseball on TV. Baseball, baseball, baseball. And if you've ever been in jail, you know that that's not going to fly. People like listening to music. People like, if they are going to watch sports, watch football or hockey or something a little bit more violent and a little bit more action-packed. Nobody really wants to watch baseball. Typically, people want to watch music, right? So some guy goes up to him and says, bro, listen, we're sick of the baseball. Change the baseball. You've been on the range for like a couple weeks. Move from the TV, bro. We're done just sitting back and allowing you to crush baseball all day long. And the guy throws like a hissy fit, right? But when he's throwing the hissy fit, he says, yo, F this goof range, and walks off the range. He literally goes, bangs the door, walks off the range. So we're all like, what? What? What's wrong with this dude? Like, this guy's serious? This guy just cracked off the range over baseball? This is what we were literally thinking in our head, right? We're thinking like, really? Anyways, so we're in our cell. We're locked up at lunch. Because in Lindsay, you get locked up at lunch. You get locked up at dinner. It's like in, out, as opposed to being in, you know, the West Detention or the Dawn, where you're out on range all day long. So we're in our cell at lunch. All of a sudden, the range door opens. So you run to the range. You want to see if new guys are coming in or whatever it is. If it's a search, whatever, you just want to know, right? So you run to the door. You see what's going on. Sure enough, this guy is walking back in on the block like nothing happened, and he goes into his cell. So you could see the cleaner like walking around, like trying to get people going, right? Because of what he said. He called the range a goof range. I was already, me and my boy, who is my cellie, were already ready to go. You know, at the end of the day, you can't say something like that and live with us. It's not happening. We didn't care. We were prepared. And I'm telling you, as soon as the cells crack, there's like 7, 8 dudes, guys I did pen time with, guys I've done past provincial time with, that didn't even need to be told or anything like that, that were just ready to go. Guys had cups and socks, because he's a big, like, farmer white dude that you know can probably throw down. Guys have cups and socks and stuff, and guys are ready to go. So everybody went in the cell and cooked him. And he got cooked. Like guys took the big, at that time they had these big hard brown cups. Like you could throw these cups as hard as you could against the concrete and they'd just bounce. They're not gonna break. And guys would literally stuff them with wet toilet paper until you can't stuff anymore in. And now this is like a heavy thing. It's like putting 2 or 3 pool balls in a sock, right? So double sock it up, bang. Guys go in there, we crush him. But he's a problem. Like I'm not even gonna front, considering we were all, at the time we were all young guys. Like it was all mid-20s or younger, pretty much. And this guy gave all 7 of us a hard time. He didn't hit anybody, but he also didn't get knocked out, despite the fact that he was taking this cup in the sock in the head repeatedly, getting kicked and booted repeatedly. He was more like a frantic animal just trying to fight for his life. He wasn't like a fighter. He wasn't trying to swing on anybody. He was just kind of trying to get everybody off of him so he wasn't being attacked from all angles like he was being. So it kind of went out onto the tier. He was being jump attacked from all angles by us. And eventually the guards came in. They took him off the block. And we went about our lives. Now, there was a point where I got kicked off of 4 pod for fighting and went down to 1 pod. And when I saw him at 1 pod, he like hailed me up. And I didn't want to be a fake dude. I didn't want to come across as a fake. So when he hailed me up, I went like that. Like, move from me. Don't hail me up. And he goes, and I just did the stomping motion like, I let him know. I wasn't going to fake the funk. I wasn't going to hide from the fact that he had called our range a goof range. And we felt like we were in the right. So it was what it was. And I just kept moving. I just kept it moving. Never thought about him again. So I got sentenced to some time. And I was waiting to go to OCI. Now, you know OCI, worst jail I ever did time in. Horrible place. But at that time, I was kind of trying to get treatment. I thought maybe it would help. It didn't. I wasn't ready for it. And that was the worst place I ever did time. But prior to going there was like 6 weeks where I had to go live on 5 pod in Lindsay, which is the sentence side. So when they took me over to the sentence side, I'm going about my day. I remember one morning I'm cleaning my cell. Cleaning. And this guy comes to my cell and he knocks on the door and he goes, yo, is your name Clark? And I said, yeah, my name's Clark. And he goes, yo, you're wanted at the window. So I go to the window because in Lindsay, it's like octagon shape, right? So there's 8 sides. Each side is a range. One side is yard and one side is where the guards stay. But you can see every block. He looks at me. It's this guy that I jumped and this other huge, massive, bald dude from up north, covered in tattoos. And they're both at the window and they're like, and I'm just thinking in my head, because I'm a young guy at the time. All my homies are on the sentence side. I'm thinking in my head, man, this is not a good day. But, hey, I'm over here at least. So I turn around, and literally half of my block is behind me. And they told me straight up, man, you either got to go fight those dudes or you got to crack off the range. So clearly I wasn't going to be able to go fight these guys. It's never going to happen. They're window warrior. It's not going to happen. I tried to get transferred over to that range. It wouldn't happen. But I'm not leaving the block. They told me, crack off the block. If you're not out of here by lunch, when we come out after lunch, you're getting it. And I was just thinking in my head, man, this is crap. My boy is on the range. Somebody I know from road is on the range telling me, just crack. Just crack, bro. Don't worry about it. I'm like, bro, I ain't cracking, brother. Like, I can't crack, bro. I'm not done doing crime. This is my life. Like, that ain't happening. If I gotta get crushed, I gotta get crushed. And the guy, yo, come on, bro. Like, it's not like, bro, I ain't cracking. So I go in my cell. I had a cell partner. His name was Skinny. And by some chance, he says to me, bro, you're gonna need this, and hands me a piece of plastic food tray that he had gotten from somewhere. And it was a big piece. It was a big hunk. So I spent the whole lunch hour sharpening it up to the point where I could smash clean through one of the jail mattresses like butter. Once I got it that sharp, wrapped a handle around it and just walked out on block, backed it out as soon as they approached me and said, first man coming to get me is getting cooked. Of course I'm going to end up getting crushed in the end. It's a plastic shank. It's either going to break, or there's so many of you, you're just going to overwhelm me at some point. But one of you got to come first. And I'm telling you, I'm not saying the guys on the range were soft, but it wasn't their beef. You understand what I'm saying? They were just trying to be solid to some guy that was on their pod. They were buddies with a guy on the range. So that's just kind of how jail works. But when they realized that I wasn't going to just crack off the block and I had a shank, the whole attitude changed. Now all of a sudden they're cool with me staying there. I lived there for 6 weeks. The same night those guys were getting kites from him, being called goofs, for letting me live on the range. And I lived there, smiled at them every day like a bud boy because I didn't care. At the end of the day, I didn't care. I was stupid. I was young. I didn't have a whole lot of sense in my head. And I had homeboys at that time that I knew were riding. And if any of these guys put in any work towards getting at me, it was going to come back tenfold. And I knew the guys that I was rolling with were serious. But I'll tell you what, I ended up later on going to the pen. Right? And I had to come back for court from the pen to free up my homeboy. So when I came back, I had a bunch of bales, I had lighters and stuff like that I was bringing back from the penitentiary to hook up my boys with. And when I landed on a range, I landed on the op range, or at least I thought the op range. So that dude that I had jumped rolls with a crew from Ottawa. That's as much as I'll say, right? And this crew of white boys, they're serious guys. They're really good friends of mine to this day, solid stand-up people. But at the time, the head of that squad had told me, I know you're a good guy, bro. I know you're a good people. I've talked to your homeboys and stuff. I know you're a good dude. But because you guys cooked my guy, it is what it is. When I see you, it's a one-on-one. And it's a one-on-one I would have lost, but I respected his approach. He could have very easily called me out to a visit, had me jump by a bunch of dudes, and he didn't do that. So I always got love for this dude, especially after the beef squash, and he became my homeboy. We lived on range together in the pen. He's a real good dude, and anytime that guy could reach out to me, I'd help him with anything, because he's just a real stand-up cat. But when I came back from the pen, I landed on, I think it was 4A again. It might have been 1A. It was either 4A or 1A. And when I landed on the block, I saw 3 guys from the squad looking out the hatch at me. And I'm thinking in my mind, oh, of course I have to land on the block with these 3 dudes that I'm now going to have to bang with for sure. So I go up into my cell. I know the cleaner and the other dude not very well, but I know them. So the cleaner comes up to the cell. I tell him, yo, I got bogey, blah, blah, blah. Send on some piff if you can find me some piff for some trade, blah, 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 blah. So he's like, yeah. So he leaves, and when he comes back, he's got a kite for me. And the kites, so in Lindsay, there's doors, and you can pass kites through the doors through the cleaner. So if you want to send piff or anything like that, that's how it gets sent from range to range, right? So a kite comes through from a different range, and it says Clarky on it. So when I crack it, it's from the guy that I jumped. And he's like, bro, I did some time with your homeboy. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's still my homeboy to this day. We don't hang out anymore, but we still talk occasionally. And he's a real solid dude and a problem physically. And he had a conversation with the guy, and he's like, man, beef is squash. Don't watch nothing. And there was a spliff in the kite. And from that day on, I was cool with the whole squad. It just kind of was what it was. And it was a misunderstanding. And at the end of the day, you called my range a goof range, and I lived on that range. So I have every right to fire off on you, homeboy. That's just prison. That is what it is. You can't just goof people up and expect them not to defend it, whether you're direct or indirect or vague or not. You understand what I'm saying? Obviously, I share my stories with you guys, so you guys don't have to go through these things yourselves. If I could snap my fingers, nobody has to go through this. Nobody has to go through prison violence or fighting or anything like that, or go to prison at all. That's what I do, but that's not a reality, especially in 2021. We know how it goes. It's hard out here sometimes. You got to do what you got to do because ribs is touching, and sometimes that can land you in prison. At least by my videos, sharing my experiences with you guys can learn a bit and kind of understand, your expectations as a new con coming through the system. And that way, the guys that are already in the system know guys aren't coming in fully green without any understanding and just annoying, because that's what happens. So I think the moral of this story is it could have very easily backfired on me. I could have got crushed very easily. But I stood on something that I believed in to the very end. And because of that, I actually made some friends. Now, I learned a valuable lesson from it, though. Don't just get caught up in politics. Don't be a hothead. Don't just 7-8 on one jumping, because that's how it was. That's how it was for me, man. I grew up in a system like that. I grew up in Toronto. If I was on range with my homeboys, you're getting gurks. It doesn't matter. No fair fights. That's prison. But you also at the same time grow up, right? And I grew up in the system. And there was a point towards the last 7, 8, 9 years where I would never consider jumping anybody, because I just had a different attitude about it because of situations like this. Now, despite the fact I felt I was right, the guy ended up being a good guy, and he could have very easily lost his life over something stupid. Prison is confrontation. When you have all these men with built up testosterone, they're working out, they're in good shape, they're at their physical peak, it's a different kind of vibe. It's a different kind of energy. And things can go bad really quickly. And in provincial, it's even easier. One person can switch the whole energy of the block. People drink, people smoke, people fight over bogey, people fight over food, people take sides, and it could just be hectic. Stay out of the politics as much as you can without being punked off. That is my best advice. If you could please hit that like button, if you could please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification button to get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that'd be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of all of my videos. Prison is not fun. One wrong move can cost you your life on any day that you're there. So the smartest thing to do is just to move like a good person and to treat everybody the way that you would want to be treated. You don't take things that aren't yours. Don't touch what's not yours. Don't talk about people behind their back. These kind of things are what leads to problems if it's not debt or gambling or drugs. Stay out of all of that and you should be okay and come home safe. Love each and every one of you. The new Matt Clark.